Star Trek has not been in a movie theatre for 8 years, since Star Trek Beyond ended the Kelvinverse trilogy in 2016. The sci-fi series changed course when Star Trek Discovery became a hit in 2017, starting a new wave of shows on streaming services. With so many Trek shows finding success on TV, new movies didn't seem necessary anymore. Despite some attempts to bring back the Kelvinverse movies, none have made it to theatres yet. Star Trek's presence on the big screen was never fully abandoned. The 3 Kelvinverse movies essentially served as life support for the franchise during the critical decade-plus gap between the premature cancellation of Star Trek Enterprise and the arrival of Discovery. The films, with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto, burned the Trek flame when television offerings had gone dark. Now, given this history, returning to theatres was always a question of when rather than if. Several potential film projects have been proposed and currently exist in various stages of development. The front runner appears to be, well, Star Trek Origins, but although this remains a working title rather than the final name, is currently targeting a 2026 theatrical release. And now we will tell you everything we know about Star Trek Origins. Oh, sorry. Anyway, so now Paramount has officially greenlit Star Trek Origins film. Paramount Pictures officially confirmed the development of the previously reported Star Trek Origins movie. The announcement came during Paramount's presentation at CinemaCon on April 12, 2024. This new entry in the Star Trek franchise is moving forward with production and targeting a 2025 release date. The film will be directed by Toby Haynes, known for his work on the Star Wars series Andor, and the script is being written by Seth Grahame-Smith, a former novelist who wrote the books Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. So, what is the confusion about Star Trek Origins' name? Well, oddly enough, this isn't the first notable project named Star Trek Origins, which has led to a little confusion among fans. At this time, its official name is still Untitled Star Trek Project, according to IMDb. Still, a fan film titled Star Trek Origins surfaced in 2013, containing vignettes set at roughly the same period as the official Paramount film. It included key canon figures like Christopher Pike and Robert April early in their careers. Several teasers were released in 2014, but nothing after that. It's quite possible that Paramount shut the project down for copyright violation. Now, Paramount released an official collection of 5 original series episodes at about the same time as the fan film was announced, which also went under the banner of Star Trek Origins. Now, the episodes were chosen to reflect the storyline of the second Kelvinverse film, Star Trek Into Darkness, which was released the same year. All of this is a roundabout way of saying Star Trek Origins is a placeholder name and may be revised before the movie's slated release date. Multiple other projects bear the same name, which might make finding updated information difficult until production is further along. So, what is Star Trek Origins about? Well, Star Trek Origins takes place decades before the original 2009 Star Trek movie. That's according to the official press release, suggesting it occurs in the Kelvinverse alternate timeline. However, since it's set before the events of that first J.J. Abrams film, it should actually be considered part of the prime Star Trek universe's continuity. And in May 2024, Variety reported that the film will serve as an origin story centered on the foundation of the United Federation of Planets and humanity's early contact with aliens. Now, beyond these basic details, very little is known about the plot or characters. The founding of the Federation has already been explored in Star Trek continuity during the final season of Star Trek Enterprise. Since that series is widely considered to have been cancelled prematurely, if Star Trek Origins covers the same period, it might effectively pick up where Enterprise left off, potentially filling in narrative gaps fans have wondered about for years. So, when does Star Trek Origins take place? Star Trek Origins will likely take place in the early 23rd century, which is decades before the 2009 Star Trek film that began in 2258 during James Kirk's Starfleet Academy days. Now, this period is good for storytelling, as it represents a not much explored era in Trek canon, as it is positioned well after Enterprise, but still decades before the original series. series. Now, this period also gives the filmmakers considerable creative freedom, while respecting established and continuing Star Trek films and series. With very few canonical events documented during this period, the writers have ample room to develop new characters and storylines without contradicting existing Trek lore. Rumours have it that the plot is somehow related to Alien Nation, which is a 1988 film that was later adapted into a TV series about extraterrestrial refugees attempting to integrate into human society. In Origins, Vulcans would fill the role of the alien newcomers from that earlier work. The movie would be Earth-based, and thus it is expected to explore the political complexities involved in forming the United Federation of Planets. Now, this focus on the early political foundation of the Federation, combined with the social dynamics of human-Vulcan relations, will offer a fresh angle on the Star Trek universe, while avoiding overlap with other series territory. So, who stars in Star Trek Origins? As of now, no casting decisions have yet been made for Star Trek Origins. Since the film takes place decades before either Captain Kirk's crew or the Star Trek Strange New Worlds era, viewers should expect entirely original characters. These new characters might have connections to established figures in the Trek universe, but they'll largely follow their unique paths through this formative period of Federation history. And when the casting is announced, we will have significant details about these new characters and their roles within the story. However, there is one potentially major exception to this clean slate approach. Now, given that Star Trek Origins is set after the events of Star Trek Enterprise and focuses on the founding of the Federation, key characters from that series might reappear in this new film. That includes Scott Bakula as Captain Archer, whose role in founding the Federation would make him a natural fit for Star Trek Origins. The same applies to his crew, and depending upon the precise setting, any or all of them could very well appear as older versions of the characters they played 20 years ago. Now, that could conceivably extend to supporting characters like Jeffrey Combs's Andorian Shran, whose role in galactic history is just as important as Archer's. Now, some concerns about this new movie happened though. The first concern with this Star Trek Origins movie is exactly how this movie is going to function as a prequel. You see, the point of divergence between the Kelvin timeline and the main Star Trek timeline occurs when Nero's ship comes back in time to the former reality, which also happened to be the same day James Kirk was born. Everything before that day happened the same way in both timelines, including the events of the TV show Star Trek Enterprise. So because that series chronicled Starfleet's first deep space exploration and ended with the formation of the United Federation of Planets, what origin is there to tell for this new Star Trek film? The main thing we can think of at the moment is we'd learn how Starfleet and the United Federation of Planets became the powerhouse forces they are by the time the 2009 Star Trek movie begins. But even setting aside the fact that this doesn't need to be classified as a Kelvin timeline exclusive story, since such events would have happened the same way in both realities, I don't see a way this would make for a compelling enough cinematic film. Oh dear. And if that's not all, my second concern with this Star Trek Origins movie is what this means for Star Trek 4, which is supposed to be the Star Trek Beyond follow-up. We're coming up on 10 years of this project trying to get off the ground, with various behind-the-scenes creative talent boarding and exiting it, including director Matt Shakman, who left to helm the Fantastic Four. It seems like Star Trek 4 can't catch a break, and I'm worried that this Star Trek Origins movie will result in it being shelved for good. But to be fair, when this new film's existence was revealed, it was mentioned that Star Trek 4 was still in active development, and is intended to be the final chapter of the series. So, Paramount reportedly intends to give this version of the USS Enterprise crew a proper farewell. But given how many times moving forward Star Trek 4 has failed, prioritising the Star Trek Origins movie will once again result in the other movie falling by the wayside. But even with those concerns, we are still waiting for when will Star Trek Origins be released. Well, Star Trek Origins has been slated for a late 2025 or early 2026 release, though the precise date remains unknown. Filming was expected to begin in 2024, and fans will know more about the release date once that process is closer to completion. As the first Star Trek movie to hit the big screen in a decade, expect its placement on the calendar to be made with care. Now, other franchises, such as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, are better established on the big screen, and the new Star Trek film will almost certainly give them a wide berth. The status of Star Trek's streaming series may also play a role in the release of Star Trek Origins. In the past, the franchise has engaged in vigorous cross-promotion to coordinate its various properties. A good example of this is Leonard Nimoy's appearance in Season 5 of Star Trek The Next Generation, which coincided with the big screen release of Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Michael Dorn, who played Lieutenant Worf in The Next Generation, had a cameo in The Undiscovered Country as well. Paramount may plan a similar cross-promotion involving Strange New Worlds or another Star Trek streaming service. In that case, the schedule for the series in question may give a clue to Star Trek Origins' release date. And there you have it. That's everything we know about Star Trek Origins right now. Keep tuning in and subscribe and hit that bell for more information for the next time we release a new video. Love to see your comments. Take care. See you in the next one. Bye!